Welcome to the podcast hosted by timecam.com on how to stay on top of your work.
Welcome back. It's Kate, and as every Wednesday, I'm back to talk to my guest about productivity, project management, leadership, and many other interesting things. And we've got a lot to talk about today, so let's get right to it. My guest is Michael Sliwinski, the founder and CEO of Nozbe, a cool application which helps productive people to get things done. Michael, thank you so much for joining me here today. It's my pleasure.
Hello, Kate. Thanks for having me.
That's great. So my first question is related strictly to Nozbe and to you. How did Nozbe come to existence? Why did you decide to create it? And the thing that's most interesting to me, why that name, Nozbe? What does it mean?
Yeah, so it's a long story, but I'll try to wrap it up for you. So first of all, the idea for the app came about because I couldn't get myself organized. Because I'm a pretty chaotic person. I have always lots on my mind. And when I read the book by David Allen, Getting Things Done, I loved the concept, but I couldn't find any way to apply it. So actually, it was a weekend project where I just built a very, very basic version of Nozbe just for myself. And then after I did it, I was using it for another year or something, just for myself, completely selfish. And then after that, I decided that, if it works for me, and some people who saw it thought, they might want to use it as well. And then I decided to, write it nicer and better, and show it to the world, and to see if there are other Michaels like me who have the same problems and who are searching for the same solutions to get things done. So basically, it was my side project. I was a freelancer, and I launched Nozbe, another year later. And apparently, there are more Michaels because we have more than 500,000 users right now. So
Wow.
I think quite a few people are using it. So it's great.
I think there are a lot of Michaels and Kates as well, because I could use that kind of app too. So it's on my list of things to do to actually try it out. So I'd like to ask you about the objectives and goals and plans for Nozbe. Do you have any special plans for the next maybe couple years? And, how does the situation in Nozbe looks like right now?
Yeah, so Nozbe, as I mentioned, was born out of my own need for an app to manage my own stuff. But what happened was that it grew to a company, and we've been running Nozbe for 11 years now. And now we have a small team of similar size, I think, as yours. So like 25 people in the core business, and then several other people working with us. And what I realized is that what we realized a few years ago is that we also need a tool like Nozbe to manage our company. So the big shift right now for Nozbe is that it's not only for consumers right now, but it's also for teams. And for us, this is like our kind of a pivot or kind of a change, that we're right now signing up more business and team customers, and we're focused on that because what we realized is that people are not really getting stuff done in business and in teams. What they're doing is they're sending emails, they're sending reminders, they are talking to people and interrupting them. And what Nozbe does is that we can share projects, we can delegate tasks easily, we can easily comment in tasks. So the responsibility is more clear. You can see when you open a project, you can see who's responsible for what, who's working on what. It's very easy to see the accountability for a project and for a task. And it's also a better way to communicate. You communicate through tasks, communicate through ways of doing things, instead of just writing a long email with lots of things in the email, and people might address some of them, but usually not all of them, or there's somebody that forgets an attachment, and it's even worse. So what we realized is that we need to change a little bit Nozbe. I mean, not improve, that's what I would use the word, for a team environment. Because we are using Nozbe to run Nozbe, to run our company, and we want other especially small and medium-sized businesses and teams to use Nozbe to communicate better and to just work better.
Okay, that sounds good. So I'd like to talk about team management in a while, but first of all, I'd like to ask you if you have any indicators, figures, or maybe some indexes that you use in your work and which are important in business. and what you are guided by, because I think it's quite important in a company.
Yeah. So first of all, we're measuring the traditional, things like, revenue and costs, like the basic stuff, and also some typical, startup kind of things. I mean, or SaaS kind of things, like churn, the lifetime value of a customer. Although in our case it's a bit skewed because we've been around the business 11 years now, and we have customers with us for many years, so they're really improving this number. So these are all of obvious financial stuff, but also what we are also checking out is the customer involvement. So like we want to see how many projects they have, we want to see how many comments they post, or how many tasks they delegate. And for our customers, what we have is that in every team customer, or any customer gets a report every week of their Nozbe score. Nozbe score means like if you have completed or delegated more tasks than created. To see how good of a task creator are you versus task doer. So we also use that, and so these are the metrics that we care about, of course. And of course the vanity metrics, like what I mentioned, we have 500,000 users, which is nice, but actually what I prefer to focus on is the active users, the people who are actively using Nozbe. And also in my business, what is really important is that people are sometimes giving up on Nozbe, not because Nozbe is bad, but because they just stop giving up. They give up on themselves. They just stop managing their stuff. And so this is like a big thing for us, and a big like what you are doing, guys, is that to teach people good practices, teach people good productivity, teach people how to manage their stuff outside of Nozbe. But this influences the way they use Nozbe, because if they're organized like all over the place, they will be using Nozbe to get even more organized. But if they are chaos, if they're all over the place, then the problem becomes with Nozbe itself, and they stop using Nozbe because they would say, it's not you, Nozbe. Nozbe is fine. It's us, and we don't want that. We want people to actually, we have a tool that really we know helps people get stuff done. So we want them to stick to it, but also thanks to that, stick to good habits, good routines, and everything that comes with it.
Okay, that sounds actually quite inspiring. So I'm thinking about productivity and efficiency at work, especially when you work remotely, because you guys all work from home, right?
Yes.
That's quite challenging. Yeah.
Yeah, we have no office. I mean, there is like literally there is no central office. There is an official address, but nobody goes there. So if you want to meet any of us and you go to the official address, you're going to be disappointed. It was from the beginning. When I was in college, I studied management, and I wrote my final thesis on virtual companies and on teleworking. Mm-hmm. So I already was, into that when I was in college, and my dream come true is actually is to run a company from anywhere and to enable all of my people who work with me from anywhere. And it is challenging, of course. But if you find good people who are self-motivated, who are driven, who are entrepreneurial, then it's easier. So always with recruiting we have hard time, because we really want to find this person who is driven, who wants to do it, and who's able to not go to office. But on the other hand, there are many advantages, like the fact that people can work from anywhere, and we can have really talented people from all over the place. And also the fact that very often in our company, what happens is that people change where they live because of the fact that they work with us, because they realize, okay, I was, for example, I was in Warsaw, in the capital, because that's what the best jobs were. But now I have a good job at Nozbe, so I actually don't want to be in Warsaw, because I'm from this small town, and I want to be back in the small town, and I can, because the internet is there. So it makes it on the other hand, it's challenging to communicate and to be in touch, but on the other hand, it's very good for both the employee and the employer. for the employee as well, is the fact that people are more focused because they can really just switch off literally the internet and just work on their stuff, and they will not be distracted. Unlike when you are in a traditional office, and especially in an open office, distractions are very likely. So there are pros and cons, but we like doing it. We like running like this, our business, and we meet twice a year. So twice a year we do like a Nozbe reunion. So twice a year we hire a hotel for a week, and we just go there on Monday and we leave on Friday, and we just enjoy ourselves. We work, but we also like reconnect on a deeper level. So we chat, we brainstorm ideas, we go out for good food, for something to drink. So it's a good time to just hang out and like recharge batteries for the next half a year.
Oh, that's great. Sounds really good. So when it comes to team management, how do you do it? How do you manage people who are spread all over the country or all over the world? Is it challenging? Is it difficult? How do you do it?
Well, so most of all, the thing is in your head, right? So very often people think that if somebody's out of sight, they're out of mind. So you don't really you forget about them. But I don't forget about my people. That's the first thing. But second thing is the trust. There is this saying, this German saying, I think, that trust is good, but control is better. And I argue that it's the contrary. Control is good, but trust is better. So both are important, but trust is more important. At the end of the day, you want to work with people you trust, not with people you have to control, right? Mm-hmm. So controlling is good because you still have to control them and they have to control you, because we are humans, we make mistakes, but don't get me wrong. So this is true for everyone. But trust is more important as a milestone, as a common thing, to work together. So and in the case of a company like ours, it's really hard to fake work, because the only way to show up, you have to show up with work, because I don't see you, in the office. So I'm not sure if you're working, but if you send me a task that you just did, I'm like, yeah, so you did your work, right? So I can see you through your tasks and through your professionalism, through what you're doing, and not through how you look like in the office, And this what we have found out in our company is that this kind of dynamic helps us respect people more, not of how they look and how they behave, but what they deliver, how they work. Mm-hmm. And I think so. I think the beginning is the trust issue, and many managers have that problem, that they don't think. And of course, there are some misconceptions. Like I very often get these arguments, like because we are so close together, we have these ideas coming in and coming out. If we would be apart, we wouldn't have these ideas. Of course, you would. It's just a question of good communication. We have too many ideas at Nozbe, just too many. And then we have to cancel lots of our ideas. So it's not like we don't have ideas, but we have ways to communicate them, and we have ways to work on these ideas, and we have ways to also brainstorm, but we don't have to be in the same place.
Right. That sounds really inspiring, actually. And I think many people would like to have that kind of atmosphere, even in the office. So it's really great that you guys can make it. It's amazing.
There is one of our VP of product, Rafał. He came to our company years ago from a traditional office, and he was surprised that after 2 months of working in our company, he felt more connected with the team than he was in the real office.
Yeah, that can be surprising, actually.
Yeah.
In the office, you stay with people, every single day, and it seems like you should actually have a good connection.
Right.
And when it turns out that you actually don't, that's pretty cool in remote work. So it's really amazing. So I'd like to ask you if you use any strategies in your work, because as you said that trust is the most important thing. Do you maybe have some methodologies or something like that, or maybe you don't really care about that?
No, I mean, so one of the things that I use a lot are good habits, are good productivity habits that we try to promote. For example, in the morning I have my morning routine, and very often when I skip my morning routine, I have a worse day. So this is important, and we promote this across the company. Another thing that we use, like we try to, like, we are a grown-up company. I mean, more than 10 years in business, whatever. It's a grown-up company. So, for example, we try to instill processes. So, of course, not in everything, not like a corporation or something, but very often we realized we were forgetting things. So we decided, okay, for this we need a process, and for this we need a process. And especially in the productivity environment, there's this concept of weekly review, right? That at the end of the week you should review your stuff to prepare for next week. And this is a very, very powerful concept. And we have taken it to a different level on the company level, that we also put additional reviews on things. Like, we have this thing that is going on right now. We will review it then and then. And this way, when we know that we will review it, it just gives us this peace of mind that, we can just not think about everything, because we know there will be a review, and then we will just, have a lessons learned from that. So putting these reviews, these moments where you just reflect, are very important. And for example, in my company, we introduced this concept of TGIF. So thank goodness it's Friday. And Friday is a special day at Nozbe, because it's the only day that the employee designs. So the only thing that they have to do is the weekly review. Because then they can really review what they're doing and reflect on the last week and prepare next week. And then they should focus on Fridays on personal development. So like all the, for example, interesting articles they found on the internet during the week, they put for Friday, so they can read these articles, maybe watch a TED talk or some other conference talk or something like that. So the idea is this: from Monday to Thursday we work like very, very fast, efficient, and very, very strong. And then on Friday we have this moment to reflect, moment to review, and moment to actually focus on our personal development, on our hobby. Maybe we can if we are a programmer, we want to learn some new programming technique. We are I don't know, a marketing person, and we want to learn more about marketing, remarketing, or whatever. So this is a day for personal development, because what I found out is that many companies say they care about personal development of their employees, but they don't put the money where the mouth is. They don't really dedicate time for that. They think it happens in between, and it normally doesn't. So that's why we have the Fridays, the TGIF, the Fridays, and we keep them like this. So these are kind of our strategies or ways we are dealing with this.
That's really cool. It's very creative, I have to say. So I'd like to ask you if there are any tools that you use in work besides Nozbe, of course.
Of course, yeah. Especially, for remote work, we have to use good tools. And the good thing, I mean, the fortunate time is that this is 2018. Like, we have so many cool tools that we can use. So, for example, the video conferencing, there are so many apps for that right now. It's not just Skype. Now, for example, we use Zoom a lot, and it works very well for us to do video conferencing and meetings. Then we use Slack for chat. So it's our company chat. It's like this place where we just our water cooler. We just talk about things. We send gifs and jokes and whatever. And we use Dropbox to exchange files. We use Dropbox Paper for documentation, for our company documentation. We tried all the other wikis and other apps, but Dropbox Paper sounded in practice came out to be most intuitive, although it has its quirks, but it works pretty okay. So basically, these tools are the most important ones.
So I'd say these are the most commonly used tools by many remote workers. So
because the cool thing, about we also use Google Docs sometimes. But the cool thing about these tools is that, again, for remote workers, but I think they should be used everywhere. The idea is this: you do something, and then you ask for feedback, and then you get the feedback. So, for example, in a Dropbox Paper document or in a Google Docs document, what you do, you prepare something, and you ask for feedback, and then people post comments, change things, they give you feedback, and based on that, you improve. And the same goes, with Nozbe, is you can comment on tasks. The same goes with Slack, when you can just have a back and forth with somebody over chat. The same goes for video. So all these tools are good for remote workers, but they're also good for any type of work, because very often what happens even in a normal office, what I found out from friends, is that you say things, then the other person replies, but it's never written down. When it's not written down, people forget about this. So yeah, we discussed this, or we talked about it, but it's gone, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in this way, again, being a remote worker, I cannot do it. I should really write it down, because otherwise, it will be forgotten. So these kind of text-based systems are really, really important for us.
Right. So I would like to switch to the more creative part of the podcast, which I really like. And the first question will be, what inspires you in your work? Because you yourself seem like a really inspiring and creative person. So what's your source of inspiration?
Oh, thanks for the compliment. Yeah, so like many other people, like, I like reading biographies. I like reading a lot. Actually, well, that's technically not true. People are reading to me because I'm listening to audiobooks. So I like listening to audiobooks, very often biographies. Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, all these other guys, all these big ones, but also different ones. So that's for sure. I have a very nice group of mentors that I mean, people that are really successful, and I follow them, and every now and then we meet to just chat and talk. And I have a mastermind group as well. It's like a person. We have like 4 people that we meet every week to just 4 different business owners, and we just discuss things, exchange ideas, and it works very well for us as well. Yeah, many other people inspire me, and whatever happens on the internet inspires me, if it's something positive, if it's something good. Just now I was listening to this person called Sean Askinosie, who is who is a guy who launched a cocoa factory, a chocolate factory, and he's working. He's sourcing chocolate from all over the world, and he's doing a chocolate factory. And so all these stories, I just like business stories. When just like my story inspires people, the way that I was doing it on the side, and it was my thing, and then now it's a very nice business. It's the same what inspires me. It's like all these stories of businesses that how they came to be. They inspire me all the time. So I love listening to these kind of stories.
All right. So what about books? Because you said you like to listen to books. Have
Yes.
you read any interesting books lately? Or maybe do you have your favorite? You actually said that you like autobiographies. So, any interesting books?
Oh yes,
you can recommend?
Of course. Apart from Getting Things Done by David Allen, which is a classic, I always like the productivity books by Stephen Covey, and like First Things First, or The 7 Habits of Most Successful People. But recently they had this new book, 4 Disciplines of Execution, which is really good. But one of my key books recently was Essentialism by Greg McKeown. I had the pleasure of interviewing him for my Proactive magazine, and it was really great to talk to him personally. But like, he's an inspiration. The book is fantastic, Essentialism, because it forces you to focus on what's really important for you and for your growth and for your maximum impact. And I might not be the smartest person because I needed to read this book like 4 times already. So like for the information to sink in, to really sink in. So I really recommend it, and there's another book, One Thing, which is of similar vein, that you should do just one thing, that doing this makes everything easy or unnecessary. So everything easier or unnecessary. So yeah, these are the biggest recommendations recently on me.
Okay, so that's some of these positions are actually already on my list of books to read, but it's getting bigger and bigger with every episode.
So get if you haven't.
I will definitely.
So take this one. I mean, really take this one first, and then forget about all the other books. Just
okay.
Take this one.
I will. So my last question is related to the name of the podcast, Stay on Top of Your Work. How do you stay on top of your work, and how do you get things done?
Well, I am, apart from being like an owner of the company and doing marketing for the company, I also have a wife and have 3 kids. So I want to be, to be motivated and to be running my company and to be doing things well. My girls motivate me a lot, and they are they're my source of inspiration as well, which I haven't mentioned. But also thanks to, for them and to be a good business guy, I'm also doing lots of sports, which help me get the best drug ever, which is endorphin. So I'm doing triathlons. I just recently signed up for tennis classes to just refresh my tennis, and so I run a lot. I swim. I ride on a bike. So all these things that and as I mentioned, also the morning routine, the evening routine. So these kind of routines and habits, they all help me be better.
Michael, do you have any final tips for our audience and remote workers especially?
Yeah. So my dream is that remote work would happen more. Like I'm still, I was saying this throughout this podcast, that it's in the mind of people and mind of managers. So for all the remote workers or people who want to go remote, try to convince and try to show people show your managers that there is a way to do remote work. Maybe not full time in the beginning, but just half time, some of the time, because commuting, it's not really good for you. Like commuting is really bad, and it's wasted time actually. So I would start with that. But of course, once you do it, it's important in a remote work environment to really communicate well. So to be able to really respond to communication, be proactive, and really, really communicate well in the comments and in the comments to documents, like in all these places. It's really to document well. And I would leave this tip also for also office workers, that using text-based communication is really good, because it stays there. There's history. There is because the way of productivity, it's important that you understand that what's on your mind. It's volatile. It's just for a second there, so you will forget things. And it's better to have them, have the information stored somewhere else, so somewhere in the system, like in your task manager or in your document or wherever you're putting stuff in, and not rely on just remembering things. So I would encourage on not relying on remembering things, but really relying on saving information, on jotting down notes and having a system to put them there. So I would say that. And also good habits of morning routine, evening routine. What I mentioned, there was this cool tip that that you should actually figure out what you want to do tomorrow, the day before. So if you plan your next things for tomorrow, today, like tomorrow morning, instead of going to social media, you will go to your first task, and you will just do your first task. You will be more productive. You will be happier. So this is one of the best tips, and I'm doing it every day. Every day I'm thinking about what's going to happen tomorrow, preparing the tasks, and this way, when the next day comes, I know what I have to do. I'm focused. I'm excited about this day, and I can really get stuff done. So I will start with all these.
Me too, because this is what I do as well, and it really works out. It's a great strategy, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very, very good. And because I heard somewhere that it's even more powerful than we think, because it's like our mind is kind of ready for tomorrow, and when it sleeps, it rewires itself for tomorrow. I don't know how much of it is true, but I think it is kind of because like whenever I have a plan for tomorrow, then the tomorrow is way better.
Yeah, that's true. I agree completely. All right, Michael, thank you so much for joining me here. It was my pleasure to talk to you. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. It was great to meet you, and thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here.
This podcast was brought to you by Tencam. You can listen to it on iTunes and SoundCloud. Subscribe to get more content and always stay on top of your work.